Good afternoon, honorable members of the board and administration, our beloved parents, teachers, friends, fellow graduates, and of course, Mr. Engel. When Christopher and I first crossed paths, we found ourselves in Miss Kelsey Carlson's 2A class. I was already a year into my journey at Faith, having spent first grade with Miss Locke. Christopher, on the other hand, had just arrived with his family from the States. Back then, we couldn't fathom what it truly meant to be part of the class of 2024. Teachers often reminded us that we were the class of 2024 and that our high school graduation lay 10 years ahead. To our young minds, that future seemed impossibly distant, almost unreal. In those early days, our world revolved around specials, Foursquare, and the playground. Each week stretched endlessly, making time feel as if it moved at a snail's pace. As we progressed to the third grade, we entered upper elementary, spending 2 years under the tutelage of Mrs. Mendoza, who was then known as Miss Olson. All we knew at this point was our weekly Minute to Win It, our historical event simulations, and the miraculous journey of Edward to Lane. Our final year of elementary school was under the care of Mr. Mendoza and Mrs. Chow, where we had Friday dance parties, one-night Ultimate Werewolf, pizza parties, and who could forget Baymax, rest in peace. Throughout those formative years, our understanding was confined to the immediate joys and challenges of childhood, oblivious to the profound journey that lay ahead. And yet, time waits for no one. We transitioned into middle school as immature, often annoying, sixth graders, now navigating a world with lockers, bells marking the start and end of classes, and a roster of more than just one or two teachers. But even then, our focus remained on the present, and graduation seemed a distant event. As we entered high school as freshmen, some of us might have begun contemplating graduation, but for most, our attention stayed fixed on the here and now. Humanities assignments, the Friday 9 p.m. deadlines, online PE. But gradually, the date we either anticipated or dreaded crept closer, and the years as freshmen, then sophomores, and then juniors seemed to pass in a blur, leading us to this very moment, our final year as seniors. For many of us, it took time to truly grasp that this day would arrive. At the start of this school year, the reality of being seniors hadn't fully sunk in. We hadn't yet processed what it would mean to graduate and stand here, poised on the precipice of a new chapter. Reflecting on our journey, we realized that every step has been a lesson in its own right. We learned the importance of resilience as we faced academic challenges and personal obstacles. We discovered the value of community, leaning on each other for support during tough times. Our teachers imparted not just knowledge, but also the importance of curiosity and lifelong learning. We learned to balance responsibility with the joy of youth and finding time for both study and play. But most importantly, we learned the value of time. For some of us, we were forced to learn this early on, but for many, and possibly most of us, we realized this lesson late. For many of us throughout most of the school year, the reality that we would be graduating today didn't fully set in until recently. We spent so much time almost in denial that this day would come. Don't talk about graduating yet, we would say, whenever someone would bring it up. It hasn't fully set in yet. But it was only until after senior trip when most of us began to realize the futility of time. By then, we had 10 weeks left in the semester. To some, this was when reality began to set in. But for others, 10 weeks still seemed like a lot. But then, one by one, the weeks began to fade, and graduation began to creep up on us. And now, here we are. This serves as an important reminder that we must treasure what we have now. I'd like to read an excerpt from a poem that I had to memorize in my sophomore year for Langenley. All Things Must Die by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Clearly, the blue river chimes and is flowing under my eye. Warmly and broadly, the south winds are blowing over the sky. One after another, the white clouds are fleeting. Every heart this May morning in joyance is beating, full merrily. Yet all things must die. The stream will cease to flow, the wind will cease to blow. The clouds will cease to fleet, the heart will cease to beat, for all things must die. Now, it may sound grim, but the sentiment still holds. Sometimes, it's time to let a good thing die. Time stops for no one. It's an important reminder that we must treasure what we have. The friends around us, the memories we make, the lessons we learn. But more than that, we should be reminded of God's boundlessness and how insignificant our perception of time is compared to Him. Psalm 103, verses 15 through 19 says, "As for a man, his days are like grass. He flourishes like a flower of the field, for the wind passes over it, and it is gone, and its place knows it no more. But the steadfast love of the Lord is from everlasting to everlasting on those who fear Him, and His righteousness to His children's children, to those who keep His covenant and remember to do His commandments. The Lord has established His throne in the heavens, and His kingdom rules over all." While time stops for no one, we must all move on from this place we once called our second home. We can find solace in the fact that our true home is found in heaven, with the Lord. How beautiful is it that even though we're going on our own paths now, we can be reunited again, home with the Father. Let us remember to cherish everything we have, cherish our time, and appreciate the moment. But more importantly, let us not forget, going into the world, that our identities lay in the Lord. Let us wear that banner proudly wherever we are, whoever we are with, and whatever we are going through.